Hello there, and welcome once again to my little arty corner of YouTube. My name's Angela, and it's Saturday the 7th of May 2022 still as I record this, and here in the UK it's just after 9:15 in the morning, which is quite early for me to be doing this as of late, but not as early as I used to. I don't know where my Hoyle has gone for get up and go in the morning, but it's got up and gone. I think it's because I'm sleeping better at night and sleeping through till later, so that's a good thing. Anyway, thank you for all your lovely comments. I'm glad that if you watched my last video of whimsical houses, that you enjoyed it. I will do more, but today's Saturday and it just feels the day where I just want to draw for the enjoyment of drawing. And that doesn't mean I won't explain things and talk my way through things and help, make suggestions. I will. But I just feel like doing this, and I think that's okay. Sometimes I think all of the time you need to go with what you feel like doing rather than what you feel you should be doing, except I should really be doing work for a book. But I'm happy to spend some time doing this as I come round and drink my cup of tea, because I haven't had my mug of tea, my big mug of tea yet this morning. So thank you if you've subscribed recently or you're an old subscriber. I appreciate you all very much. If you haven't subscribed yet, then all it costs you is a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of energy to click on the button. It's completely free. And if you click on the bell next to it, you get told when I upload videos, which is just about every day of the week, but not a Sunday and not a Thursday, because those 2 days tend to be a bit busier than I'd like to get to fit videos and everything else in that I need to do. So I may need to cut down another day or two in the week for the next couple of weeks while I get a book contract finished, that's all. So sometimes I have to start early in the day and really get to it and focus on it and get things done. Whereas I tend to think, oh, it's midday or it's too late to start, which is nonsense. But my head thinks that. So here we go. So this is a piece of hand lettering I did a few days ago. Couple, 3, 4, something like that days ago. And it was sat in my sketchbook, not doing anything much. So this morning when I woke up, wasn't ready to get out of bed, but I was ready to sit up eventually and draw. So all I did to this actually was I added some thicker lines around the chaos, and then some shadows on the edges of the embrace and beautiful. I hope I've spelled it right. I have an excellent speller, but sometimes I look at things and think, is that the right way of spelling beautiful? It is. And I don't know whether I'm going to add colour to these or what, or whether I'm going to leave them as they are. I don't know at the moment, but that's not a problem. And the other thing I did, this didn't have a frame round it, but I thought I wanted to put a frame here and then do some of my doodly style, arty, Entangled, Zentangle inspired, Entangled kind of drawing, my fussy, finickety kind of stuff that I love to do. So I made a start on that, and I will fill this almost entirely in with pattern. Well, entirely in with pattern. Some of it will be dense, like here. Other parts will be less dense, I'm sure. But you might recognise some of the motifs. I'm using this one with this kind of seed in the middle with 2 circles around it. These are variations of muka. It's how I draw a muka. These are those little arches with lines in, like here, that I like to draw. As I'm sat here with better light, and I can see where I've missed some black bits. Zigzags I rather like as well. There's little spirals in here, so that is the Zentangle pattern print amp. I've got some, it's almost like a squared leaf or a ribbon almost curling round here. But it's like it's curled around the end of a stem. I might just pop that in just to give it some structure at the beginning and end. This is a leaf that I have picked up, this motif, from looking at medieval manuscripts, illuminated manuscripts. It's something I particularly love, and I've just noticed that this needs to be a little bit broader there. That's a bit better. I'm not brilliant at doing drop shadows, but it's hand lettered, so I can make it the best I can and then go, right, that's good enough, to stop fussing, you'll make it worse, which is often the case for me. So, and these flowers here, they look almost like they're made out of metal of some kind, or they could be. They're sort of organic, but very structured in feeling, I suppose, is the best way of describing it. So I'm going to carry on and add some bits and bobs here. If you see me go and touch these, it's because I can see little white gaps. And when it comes to me scanning in, I'd prefer to have as few white spots in the black as I can, because it is a pain to chase them all down and fill them in with black digitally. It doesn't take long, but it's just annoying when I could have done it properly when I got pen in hand like this, and just a couple at a time, you know. Especially when I'm eager to either add colour or a background of some kind. All right. I really do like adding these kinds of mucas to my drawings like this. They're really good for splitting space up as well, to use as a kind of almost border between areas. But they do look like they're growing naturally and organically in that kind of way. And I do often double them up. The ends look kind of almost like a shell, or like they've got some dimension here. Partly because I'm thickening the lines to the left and the bottom. That's my rule. If you prefer right and bottom, top and left, right, top and right, it's entirely up to you how you do things. Just be consistent across the whole of your design. And then those thick lines become part of the pattern, as well as adding dimension, and a believable kind of dimension as well. And if you remember to thicken the lines where objects overlap. So here I will go back. That's an 05 pen, and sometimes I find it a lot easier to use a finer pen to go back and thicken a line, because if I miss my line just a little bit, it's not going to be as super noticeable as if I'd used a thick line. I'm just going to pop that there. And I've got an 01 pen out as well. For really fine lines. The difference in line really does add interest to the drawing. And also it allows you to vary the density of line and line weight and the amount of ink, and change dark light, create shadow and so on without really much extra work. I'll tell you what I want to do here is I do want to create these as if they're almost like really long skinny triangles, so that the bottom end has a lot more ink on than the top bit. I want to round that there. That was looking a bit awkward then. I say bottom end, I mean the bottom end of these is the one that attaches inside there. I want to do that so it adds that sense of shadow, and that works quite nicely. Okay, back to these. There's going to be a lot of paper turning around because it makes it easier for me to draw, and it also makes it easier for me to avoid sticking my hand into ink that is still wet and creating smudges, which then take a while to tidy up if this is going to be a finished piece of work digitally. It's best to avoid it, really. Okay, just... In Zentangle they call this weighting or rounding, where you put a curved line and fill the space behind it, the smaller space, in with black ink, and it seems to fill a space nicely and finish it off. It's a bit like what you'd see in where lead is joined together in stained glass. And yeah, I like stained glass. Very much so. Okay. This shape here is just begging for a circle to go in there. And I think I will just pop this here. You might notice I am adding these rounding or this weight to the bottom of each line here. I just find that it just finishes them off and makes them feel like they join together. And here I'm just going to put a couple of tiny circles in there. Couldn't have done that with the 05, but the 01 is perfect for it. And then here I think I may, like I've got some leaves here, perhaps I'll pop some leaves here. And these are those U shapes, but I am curving them as I draw them, as if these leaves are bending over a little bit. And I'm going to go back and tidy these lines up just a little, because I need a different 05 pen. I think I've wrecked the tip of that one already. Like so. And then I am going to pop lines in the centre as if we've got veins there in a leaf. But as I've used dots on the ends of these, I'm going to leave them as they are. So that looks like there's little leaves growing off. And I think I might do exactly the same on the other side. I don't know about, I'm not going to put that circular kind of motif there. But I started these almost like they're pointing upwards a little bit, and now I'm getting them to bend over a little bit more each time I draw them. And they're also getting bigger and wider, which is fine by me, because that seems to work for them. Okay, let me come back and use the 03 again. And what I need to do here is I need to do something about how they connect to this stem, these larger ones, because it's looking a bit, I've missed, oh gosh, I completely missed there. Missed connecting them properly or neatly to the stem, especially the curved ones at the end. So I'm just going back and tidying that up. I'm also going to add some weight or rounding here. It's not really rounding, I am adding weight to the line, almost like adding a bit of a shadow there, just to make these appear that little bit thicker. I do need to tidy a couple of these up though, because pen work is shoddy this morning. And then it's a case of adding these central lines, which I'm also bending to suit the shape of the leaf, because that really does help. Now here I've got them there, that'll be alright, I can disguise it that way. So there we've got an unusual kind of fern leaf. I actually quite like that. I do. I'm easily pleased when it comes to foliage and stuff. I woke up this morning, as I often do, with my mind racing, because it does that. I wake up in the morning with all these ideas. And today it wasn't so much an idea, but I want to share this with you, I suppose, is that yesterday, in the last video, I say yesterday because it's yesterday to me, but the last video that I made, Whimsical Houses #1, I replied to some messages, comments that had been left, and I think it was PJ Crafts asked about doing whimsical people. And I just want to say there's no need for you to apologise, PJ Crafts. I'm going to reply to you, to the comment you left. But it's not making me feel uncomfortable at all about asking me to draw whimsical faces and people. And yeah, it is outside what I'd normally draw, but sometimes that's a good thing. I mentioned about Adorable Dogs yesterday, which is the latest book I've done. And, or the latest book's been published, I'm working on another one. And that was well outside of what I was comfortable to do, but I was prepared to give it a go partly for that reason. I'll come back to that now. I'm adding the dots in like these here first, and I'm trying to keep them the same distance away from the top, so I get a nice arc there, rather than trying to guess it by drawing the lines and then putting the dots in. And it's a lot easier to join the dots as I would like them to be. So that's quite nice. This section, I think I might actually leave it more or less blank in here, but I am going to pop in this, and I am going to make this a bit thicker. I want to make this look like we've got pieces cut out here. So this is where I use the opposite shadow, top and right, and then it looks like it's going down, and especially if, so with the finest pen I've got, I'm going to add some lines there and perhaps some wider apart lines there, just to add some shadow with ink. So don't ever apologise, It's quite difficult to make me feel uncomfortable in many ways. But genuinely, people are something I don't really have much of an interest in. Except I woke up this morning remembering that a year or more ago, I'd started a course on Domestica with Matthias Adolphus, I think it is. Matthias. And Adolfo Serrero, I think they were. And both of them were about using sketchbooks. And Matthias is lovely. I love his style of sort of doodly art that tells a story. It's very illustrative, and he's got his own way of doing it. And that encouraged me to experiment with certain things. But I never finished the course because we got heavily bogged down in people, and I got very frustrated with it. But then the other course, it's called the Character Factory. I haven't finished it, but it showed ways of creating these whimsical, imaginative characters, people, beings, whatever. And I thought I actually persevered a bit more with that and got a bit further and started to get a bit more comfortable. But then other things came along and I put it to one side. So just to let you know, I'm going to go back and look at that. I need to finish my lettering course first, really, possibly. And there's no time limit on these courses. Finish them or take from them what you want. And I want to go back now and look at them and persevere this, perhaps with a different point of view. It may not be for a number of weeks. Just want to put it out there because I've got this book to finish, and should have started it or put a lot more effort into it sooner, but I tend to work best under pressure, it has to be said. So I will have a look at whimsical people at some point, and faces and things like that. once I've worked out how it works for me, because it has to be what I feel confident in and comfortable with, and I feel I do a good job of before I kind of share with you. It's never going to be perfect because nothing in life is. But I just need to work out for me how this is going to work. Because whimsy is all about fancifulness. It doesn't have to be real. It just needs to give that impression of something. It can be imaginative. It can be taking things and simplifying them. And then in my case, going back and oversimplifying them. Or overcomplicating things often. But getting the essence and then making it quirky and funny and cute and whatever you want it to be. Tea time. More tea. So that's been fantastic. So, to say I will reply to you, PJ Crafty, while the video's uploading in a little while. This is one of my favourite patterns because it messes with the idea of what's up and what's down. It's just the arch split into little rectangles, and then I put a black block alternately, zigzagging back and forth. And I think for this one, I'm going to try something that's a little bit different. I don't usually do this, or haven't done this. No, I haven't done it. But I'm just going to pop a very narrow border in there with an 01 pen. I've just thrown my 03 up against my mug, which was the clang if you heard it. It happens. So we've got that. The other thing I'd like to say, it's thank you to those who are watching and who are tagging me in social media posts so I can see what you've created using my videos as inspiration or instruction, I suppose, as well. I have to say it's fantastic to see people embracing their own way of drawing, their own unique way that pens and lines are created for them. And I just think it's fantastic. I can't remember exactly who it was who tagged me on. I think the posts have been on Instagram. Instagram is a funny place for me because I get the postings, but I don't really get, I forget there are such things as messages and so on. And there are so many sections set up in messages to begin with. Sometimes I can miss where a message is sent to me or where I've been tagged in. It just seems an overly complicated kind of thing. Maybe it's because I mostly use it on my PC rather than on the phone, because phones irritate me. Oh, don't get me wrong, I've got no issue particularly with mobile phones. I just have I detest tapping away or trying to swipe around words on the tiny little keypad. It takes me so long. There's so many misspellings. It's so much easier to do when I've got a keyboard. So it's not that I'm a Luddite. It's just that it's efficiency. And it doesn't matter how much time I spend. I've been doing this for years with mobile phones, and I still absolutely loathe it. Yeah. So here I'm going to turn this one into a flower of many layers, perhaps. But I'm just making use of the same kind of shapes and things that I've already used in this particular drawing. I'm going to try to keep things fairly consistent here. I'm not going to go, I don't know, I might go, because if I keep it all too much samey or, symmetrical, then it won't tie in particularly with the idea of beautiful chaos. but to keep it feeling a bit more coherent, I want to make sure that I use a lot of the same kinds of motifs or pattern elements. So this kind of U shape is appearing in many places, but slightly different. Here it's used to create leaves, here flower petals, here flower petals as well. And I've got long thin one. This one is more of a squared U shape. And then just to complicate matters, I'm going to add a broader U in like that. And I'm skipping a petal, so I'm going across in that kind of way to make it broader. And then I can use the centre of this petal to judge where I want to put the central bit of that motif. And then I am going to just go around like this. Give it a double border, I think. And I've got all this space on the corner. I may split it up further. Let's have a look. So I've created a large leaf here. Again, it's skipping motifs from one central bit to another. I tend to do things like this. I'll put that in, but I'll come back to this in a moment to add detail to the leaf. Here it would go off to the edge, so I'll just stop there. And again, I'm just going to pop these lines in. And they are slightly curved, very slightly, but they are curved. And this one, I'm going to make quite a short but broad kind of leaf here, so that it just fits in my edge. I have drawn a pencil border in, which you can see. Doesn't mean that I won't go outside it, but it just gives me that limit. So I've always got a white border around the whole drawing. Otherwise, I can get just a tad annoyed. I'll work right up to the edge, and then it's really difficult. It looks wrong to me. I like this clear edge. But it's whatever suits you again. And of course, I've got the this edge of the paper, which is from the ring binding of the sketchbook where I've just torn it out. But this will go back quite happily over those ring bindings. I don't know when I realised that, but I sort of like went, duh. I realised that when I take a piece of paper out like this, as long as I'm careful with how I do it, these will go back in, with the rings between there, as if it's a disc-bound journal. So I've been spending all this time and effort trying to sort out disc-bound journals, where really I could have just bought ring-bound sketchbooks, which I tend to prefer to use. But I prefer paper on flat like this. Sketchbooks can be a bit of a pain. So I do want to add some veining on these, and I'm going to put the lines quite close and densely together, though I am popping a little break in the middle of these lines with a dot in the middle. And I'm not trying particularly to line them up. They may end up looking like they're lined up, but that's not my aim. I just want that feeling that there's a bit of light being reflected here. And the dot helps to break a bigger gap up. I could put a couple of dots in. Oops, that gap there was a bit bigger than I would like. But if we try not to line the dots up too often, then you get this kind of natural sort of unevenness of sparkle, which I think works well for things like leaves, because the surfaces, even when they're glossy, they've got texture on them. So I'm not copying a leaf as such. I know what the shape of a leaf is. I know what shape leaves I like. You know, I've made observations of leaves and worked out what their basic shapes are, and then I've simplified them, stylised them, would be a better way of saying that. And then on the other side, I am going to add lines again. But I'm going to put them in further apart so that side of the leaf looks lighter, density of ink. And I have popped a sparkle in there. I don't know if you've noticed or if you can see, I'm actually bending all of these lines a little bit. To give the appearance that the leaf is bent or curved. They're called contour lines, I think. It's where you kind of draw the line as if you were following the contour, the shape your pen would make if you were drawing along a curved leaf, how your pen would move up and down and so on. So we've got that. Now here I do want to enhance that idea of curvature, so I'm just going to thicken these a little bit to where they meet the vein. This is only on the lighter side I'm going to do this, because the other side it would be fine as it is. And then on the edge as well, I'm just going to thicken these and trying to curve them just on one side, as if the triangle that's formed is curved along the edge of the leaf as well. Now I know I'm likely to make this look easy, but it's because I've spent 20 odd years or even more of my life drawing like this, and it comes naturally to me. But having to talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it is something new. Excuse me, more tea. That's better. It's gone a bit cold, but I'm fine with that. Strong this morning. I left it brew a bit long, but I can live with that. So having to explain what I'm doing, describe what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, going slowly, slowing things down, slowing my mind down, is actually beneficial to me as well. So this is some real-time sort of intricate drawing. And it does take me a long time to draw like this, regardless of whether I'm stopping and talking as I am now. Because as I'm talking, I'm not really thinking about what I'm going to do next. I'm not sure what I want to do here, so I'm going to... Actually, I do know what I'd like to do here. This shape here, I want to use again. So I've put an S in there, straight line there, and then I've put that S back. Now I've just gone and made a pen mark there, but I will just embrace it. I've put something similar to what's there. I've made a bit of a mess of that line. But again, I'm going to do the same thing I did here, where I've got overlapping almost like layers, curls, like that. And then on this side, I'm just going to add that part of the stem to be consistent with this. The other thing I'll do, got my O3 still open. This takes a bit of time as the faffing around changing pens, but if I leave them open and down near me, it's a lot easier to do. So that's really quite nice. And I'm going to do this kind of leaf as well. So for that, I start by taking a little, again, it's an S shape, off from that stem. I'll curl the bottom back a little bit. I'm going to go round like this, like this, like this, and then straight. I'm not sure if you could see that, but I'm just going to go back and bottom and left get thickened. And here I'm going to create a little curve over, which I didn't do here, but I can. Like so, just to tie it in. It's a bit clunky, but it'll do. Dots to go around the bottom edge, or the top edge rather, bottom edge of the leaf if the leaf's, you know, the leaf's upside down. But that actually works quite nicely. I like that. I'm trying to work out, can I do the same here? This probably could. I think I'll do it with the 03. This is the hardest thing because we're drawing a backwards S here. That actually works quite nicely. And then as I thicken these lines, we'll return to the same kind of thickness here as I used on this particular leaf here. That's actually quite nice. There we go. It's a bit different, and I think I'll finish that off here with one of these. And I do want to left and bottom, remember, and I could pop along here. I'll do it over here as well. Just some very fine lines to add shadow. So rather than use graphite pencil in these tiny spaces, or anywhere on this drawing actually, I'm going to try to make use of my pen and density of line and length of line and so on to pop shadow in. So to increase the feeling of layers. And this one here actually needs some more density of ink, I think, to really help to bring that out. The layers there. And this is a left side, so that would need some extra ink there. So that's coming along. So for today, I'm going to leave this one here. I hope you've enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me as I draw this morning before I sort myself out for the rest of the day. This is what I do. I've had breakfast, have some tea, and I draw often, or I draw while I'm doing all of this. But I didn't draw while I was having breakfast. I actually did something else. So, but I shall carry on with this, and I will show you progress at some point in time. So thank you for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've made some sense and given you some ideas and insight into my thinking and things that you can think about too as you create art. And please remember that what you draw won't look exactly like mine, because your muscles and your fingers and your eyes and your brain work differently to mine. So learn to accept your art as it is. And yes, you can change things, yes, you can practice, yes, you can develop, but your art is where it is, here and now. Practicing, exploring, experimenting, keeping a sketchbook, drawing without any judgment on yourself, just drawing for pleasure is the most important thing, and by doing, you will grow and you will develop. You will. And you'll find your way, that you like to see things drawn, that you like to produce work. So whatever else you do today, look after yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and find time to be creative. Take care for now. Bye-bye.